far away.
It probably is. And it seems, I mean, my experience on this front is largely from a military angle and looking at a lot of the footage that's coming out and a lot of the sensor feeds that have come out. And the thing that what we really need even more than discovering microbes, like these flying objects.
Yeah.
The problem is that most of them, and I'm not saying all of them, most of them, we're only capturing them on, let's say, one sensor, like a camera is seeing it or a radar is seeing it. It's very rare to get both of those totally different types of sensors looking at the same time. It's relatively easy to imagine a world where a sensor would have an error or an artifact, or even that's being actively spoofed, right? Like people are actively trying to trick it. You can make radars see things that aren't there. You can make cameras see things that aren't there if you're really smart about how you interact with them. It's very hard to make something that makes a radar and a camera see something that isn't there in a way that perfectly aligns with what is there. Now, you saw the recent one with the Hellfire that was fired, and it appears to have broken up but then kept moving.
Yeah.
That's interesting because now you have something that's on a camera and you sent another thing with a seeker and it got there and it blew up.
Is that definite real footage?
I mean, I believe...
It's been verified?
I am probably not in a position where I should say if I know if it's been verified, but I'll tell you this: I believe the footage is real.
Let's run it through Perplexity and ask.
What do you mean by verified, though?
Just ask if it has been verified that this is legitimate footage from the military of whatever they thought it was going to be, and a Hellfire missile hits it.
I do believe that one of the members of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon committees in Congress introduced it into a hearing.
That's where it came from. It came from a hearing.
Yeah. So
who released it?
It didn't just show up on Twitter.
Okay. Which guy released it? Do you wonder at all if this is a massive psyop and this is all just to cover up some very advanced American weapons technology?
I think it's a very good question, and here's why I don't believe that. Because I have done 30 years of field research, right? So I've gone to China, I've been to Russia, I've been to Australia and Africa and South America, Canada, Alaska, all across Europe, the United States, and I've investigated close encounters of the third kind. And I would ask your audience, don't take it from me, but the United States Air Force investigated and categorized close encounters of the first, second, and third kind, right? During their official capacity, Project Sign, Project Grudge, Project Blue Book.
Great fucking movie, by the way. If you haven't seen it, folks, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, probably the best alien invasion movie of all time.
Dr. Hynek has a cameo appearance in that film. Did you know that?
I had heard that.
Yeah, so
I don't remember who he was, though, but wasn't the French guy, didn't he?
Yeah, Jacques Vallée.
He's supposed to be Jacques Vallée.
But Jacques Vallée has a cameo. Well, there's a guy acting his part, but actually Dr. J.L.N. Hynek, who's a scientific advisor to Project Blue Book all those years for the Air Force, actually has a cameo appearance, smoking a cigar during the encounter. And
that's him.
Right. That's Dr.
right.
Hynek.
That's right.
Yep.
Smoking a pipe.
Smoking a pipe. And a lot of the cases right down to Richard Dreyfuss's face being burned by the UFO, those came directly out of Project Blue Book files. Even the description of what the entities looked like. Close encounters. Again, close encounters of the third kind. This is the United States Air Force documenting this stuff.
Yeah.
And he took it directly out of Project Blue Book files and made a movie out of it. And as a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge, he has Dr. Hynek have a cameo appearance in the movie.
You know what?
Most people don't know that.
It's a fantastic movie, too.
It's a great movie.
Because it's a movie that's filled with, it's not like standard UFOs land. Like there's some play going on. There's some weirdness to the way they interact with us that sort of is much more realistic. In terms of like the things that people experience, they experience interactions, very strange interactions. And when they had those little orb-like things that were flying around in the movie, that's all straight out of like... Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I remember I had a buddy of mine who was a pilot over Europe in the 70s, and he used to come for family dinners, and he was always talking about it, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And then later, we're all in the life.
Fighters.
When I started getting interested in UFOs, I was like, Michael, tell me about that UFO encounter you had, that red orb. He goes, it was just like it was in the Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Steven Spielberg's movie. And I was like, they took those files directly out of Project Blue Book files and right onto the big screen.
That's what the Foo Fighters were, right?
Yeah, Foo Fighters too. They had little orbs.
Yeah,
little orbs.
Fighter pilots are flying around. They're seeing these things with them.
Well, but let me ask you, and this is why that I don't think it's a PSYOP thing. Because,
I don't think it's a PSYOP either.
Well, the reason why I don't is because, I don't just believe Grush because he testified under oath and he's a high-level intelligence officer. That's very impressive. I believe Grush because his claims align with my personal research in the field. Remember, I've investigated crash retrieval programs, crash retrieval cases, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I put out Moment of Contact, well, actually, when I went in to put out Moment of Contact, people were going, James, you just dropped one of the biggest, most successful UFO films in terms of transcending the UFO community and penetrating a much broader, more mainstream audience. Are you sure you want to put out a documentary that deals with an alleged crash and live aliens walking around the town of Varginha, Brazil? Like, seriously, that's what you want to put out there? You got access to like Harry Reid and all these intel insiders, and now you want to do that? You're going to tarnish your reputation. It's a bad...
Who gave you that advice?
A lot of people did. They were...
I wish you called me.
Well,
I was like, James, you can handle
You
it.
probably heard about Moment of Contact, and then you thought, oh, this sounds too crazy. Then
No, I
eventually you
didn't.
watched it.
No, I thought, well, I always think a crash and contact sounds crazy.
I know it
always
does,
think
and
that.
it does.
I always think that. But I would have never told you not to do it.
Oh, okay.
I would have never told you not
Yeah.
to do it. You're really good at this. You know how to, like, you're really good at, like, explaining
But you
UFO
look at half
phenomena.
the town talking about it, including the
well,
mayor.
that's an incredible story. It's an incredible story.
It's a phenomenal story.
It's one of those stories where you're like, if everybody's in on this, this is crazy. If everybody's telling it, and there's not one contrarian that comes out and goes, they all told me to lie. I'm not fucking lying. This is stupid. They're doing it for tourism.
Oh,
not
yeah.
one person? Come on. There's always some hater. There's always some hater who wants to ruin your gag.
I remember.
If it was, you know what I mean? If
Oh,
it
yeah,
was
no,
like
I totally do.
some-
I remember when I was making Moment of Contact and I wasn't done with it yet, Lou Elizondo was like, he's like, James, he called me up. He goes, I need a copy. I was like, the film's not done. I don't care. I need a copy. Give me a rough cut. I don't care. I was like, okay, what's the urgency? And he's like, you don't understand who's watching this right now. So I was like, okay. So I'm giving him copies, and I had absolutely no idea ever in 100 million years that I think we're going to be having, months after the release of Moment of Contact, a congressional hearing under oath that was a crash retrieval
What
program.
year did
Biologics?
Moment of Contact come out?
It came out at the end of 2022.
Do you think Biden watched it? Do you think he sat down with Biden? That would have been wild.
You know, he's been
Could you
so
imagine Biden?
he's been so dismissive of it all. Like, you know, Obama said a lot more
You
about
know why? Because he's already in space. He's in space right now.
it. He's like, go talk
He's
to
in
Obama. I'm
orbit
like-
right now
I was
around
like, really? That's the
Saturn.
best you can do?
He's like Dr. Manhattan. He's on the
Oh,
moon in a glass house.
Okay, let's say if Biden, if you're listening right now, you have nothing
Sir,
to lose.
You're the
right?
president of the United States, sir. Release
he's-
the hounds.
He's never running ever again.
Exactly.
He's not running for a second term. Come on, we're done.
He's already pardoned more human beings than any
Listen-
president ever other
Listen
than Carter.
to the advice at the end of the program
Yeah.
by Senator Harry Reid, who's now the late Senator Harry Reid. And I said to him, what advice would you give the president? And it could have been any president at the time. And he said, don't be afraid of tarnishing your legacy by addressing this issue head on. And I hope that Biden gets to see that. And I really hope that President-elect Donald Trump gets to see that. People are ready for the truth. They've had enough of the lying. I think we're way beyond that at this point.
I agree with you. However, when I confronted Mr. Trump, he
yes.
was very cagey.
Was he really?
Very cagey. I've seen some things. They told me some things. He didn't tell me shit. He basically,
Really?
it
Did
was
his eyes tell
basically
you?
like neither confirm nor deny. No, there was no eyes. I don't do that shit. Especially to a pro like Donald Trump. Like, you're not,
Really?
yeah. If you're going to do it to an actor or so, shut up. You're not
Really?
going to know what the
So
fuck
just
they think.
poker
yeah,
face.
Daniel Day-Lewis told you that he just ate a baby. You'd fucking believe him. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, this idea that, like,
little
what did
blood
his
dripping
eyes
down.
tell you? What did his eyes tell you? It depends
No
on the
way.
person.
Yeah.
Depends on the person. If it's your regular crackpot and they tell you a
Yeah.
lie, you're like, something's up. But there's people that can hide things. They can hide things behind their eyes. I think he knows something. I don't think he's that interested. I think he's more interested. I think he's a sort of a no-nonsense type of guy. This is why. You kind of have to be managing multiple businesses simultaneously, right? And
Yeah.
he's always done that his whole career, right?
Yeah.
Managed being on The Apprentice while running these golf courses, while having these buildings, apartment buildings, hotels. He's constantly doing something, right?
Yes.
So while he's doing all that, and he's playing golf, while he's doing all that, there's no time for fucking aliens, man. There's no time for nonsense. There's no time for sitting around with your buddies, smoking a cigar going, what do you think, man? I mean, if I was them, man, I would do what they're doing. I wouldn't even, there's no time for that nonsense talk. That guy's got businesses.
But we got objects of unknown origin flying over residential areas, flying over military bases, flying over
Right.
nuclear silos.
Well, now I think he's much more interested because
That's a matter of national security.
It
People
is
are
now.
freaking out. Like, what the hell are we seeing? And they're going, we don't know what they are, but everything's fine.
Well,
There's
he's
totally
addressed it.
safe. There's no national security issue here. We don't know what they are, but you're fine. Don't worry about it. You remember what was the Steven Spielberg movie with the shark, the great white shark?
Yeah, Jaws.
Jaws. You remember?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
everything's fine.
The mayor's like, keep swimming.
yeah, keep swimming. The water's fine. Everyone would say people are getting bit in half.
That's the perfect analogy. Dude, that is the perfect analogy.
Right.
That is it.
Everything's fine. Go about your lives.
They're definitely
Nothing
not
to see
nuke
here.
sniffing drones. Come on, nuke sniffing drones. So what if some nuclear
Oh my
material was
gosh.
just stolen
Oh my
off a
gosh.
cargo ship? Whatever. Guys.
All the online conspiracy stuff is crazy, and I get a lot of it because obviously what I do.
Of course.
And people send me all kinds of stuff. I was like, well, hang on a second. I wish I could put boots on the ground, but no, there's something really weird going on. And the fact that they don't know, or they're claiming that they don't know what it is.
The subject is much more open to discussion, like I was saying, amongst serious people.
Yes.
Where it didn't used to be before. And now I think with this drone thing, I think there's so many people that are going, okay, even if they're ours or they're China's or they're who, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
why are there so many of them? What are the answers? And why can't you tell us? Is it because they're searching for a nuke? Jesus Christ, maybe you should warn people and get the fuck out of here. Is that really what's going on? Like, if it's not, what is going on? And if it's not ours, what are they? And how come you can't track them? How come, what kind of...
Very bizarre.
It doesn't even make sense.
It's very,
It doesn't
very
make
bizarre.
sense when you think of the capabilities of the United States military. It doesn't make any sense. They can't figure out what's going on. I think what Trump said is probably correct, that the government knows. They know what's happening, and they don't want to tell people.
Why wouldn't
whatever
he
reason.
know? He could tell us. Why wouldn't he tell us?
I don't think he knows yet. I don't think until he gets into office.
So
He gave a speech about it at Mar-a-Lago.
I saw that. But did he say?
Well, let's watch it. We'll watch it. We'll watch it.
Yeah,
pull the speech up.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if he. Yeah, well, we're about to find out.
Yeah, essentially, he was saying that he knows that the government knows what's going on, and they're not telling us.
So-
And that means they're not telling him.
So they're not telling him.
No, I don't think until you get into office, you're not the president, right? So he's the president elect. I don't know
Right.
what kind of
Clearances that he has.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works.
God, I'd be very curious to know what he knows.
Right, especially with this. Like, who do you even ask? Like, who is the person that can lay out the information? Like, which department, which agency?
Yeah,
Let's
right.
hear
And
him
it seems
talk.
like they're so compartmentalized.
What about the fear here at home of the drones?
Mr. President.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey and ports? It seems like the American people have a big
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows.
Our president
And
knows.
for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you
Want to
shoot
know
them
the
down?
truth. They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Yeah.
I think I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I bet someone told him, Mr. President, it's pretty important that you don't go to the golf course. Yeah.
God, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Hey,
so what does that mean?
I gotta, if you don't mind, I was contacted. I went to this.
Are you going to switch subjects?
Well, no. This is all about exactly what we're talking about. This is something that I really need to put out there because it's very important.
Okay.
And it's an unprecedented effort spearheaded by this woman, Andrea, who runs a number of communities on Reddit. And she said that they're banding together for the first time ever. It's the biggest grassroots campaign for government transparency. This is happening on Friday, the 20th of December at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And this has the potential to reach millions and millions of people. It's the most unprecedented event on Reddit in history. And I'll post all of the necessary information on X because this is a very grassroots effort. And
What are they doing?
At James C. Fox on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's the Reddit community is banding together for a huge grassroots campaign for government transparency. So basically, all the various platforms on Reddit, like paranormal, UFO, they don't usually get along too well, but they're all combining their resources, and they're getting together for the first time ever, and to push for government transparency. There's a couple of government insiders that appear in my film that will be appearing on this to answer questions and what steps need to be happening, what's going on today. And this is happening on the 20th of December, 3 p.m., and I'll be posting more information, the very specific details, on X at James C. Fox. I just wanted to get that out there before, because...
Well, the more of this stuff that happens, the better. The more people demand it, the better. The more politicians hear from the people and want to... I mean, especially politicians that are up for re-election, and they want to show that they're doing what the people want them to do. Yeah, I'd like to know more, but obviously I'm very happy that we're hearing much more about the subject in a serious way.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell's going on.
What are these companies going to do? They've been hiding things, or various parts of the government have been hiding things.
Misappropriating funds, lying to Congress.
Lying to Congress. So you can see why it's such a big problem at this point.
Well, that was that disclosure documentary that I saw you in as well, that appeared at South by Southwest, which was excellent. What is it called?
It's called The Age of Disclosure.
Amazing documentary.
It's an amazing documentary.
Really hope that gets released somewhere big, like Netflix or something like that, so people can see it.
I think Dan Farah, who's the director and producer of that, by the way, a very well-known producer. He collaborated with Steven Spielberg on Ready Player One, which was the big hit, and so on. And the approach he used, which is really very clever, he contacted people like me, people like Lou Elizondo, on and on and on, and said, many of you don't want to come out really and reveal too much, podcast by podcast by podcast. So tell you what, my goal, he says, I'm going to approach 38 of the maximum insiders. And by maximum insiders, I mean it includes people like, Senator Rubio, of course now Secretary of State, Clapper, who's, and I'm going to get all of you to collaborate on saying what your involvement was, to the degree you can, and, not say something and end up going to jail. And then we'll put out maximum disclosure evidence all at one time in this film. And it'll include people coming forward like Jay Stratton, who is head of the UAP task force. He's been involved in this field for 16 years. By the way, he has a book about to come out also, which will really be a disclosure. So anyways, we'll put this together. We won't talk about it along the way. And so 38 of us ended up being interviewed for the film, telling whatever role we felt we could tell. So, in fact, when that film comes out, that's going to be disclosure on steroids, I think. That's going to be the maximum. And, well, you saw the film, so you know it's pretty revealing.
It's very well done.
Yeah, very well done.
So, for your own personal journey into this stuff, you're initially introduced to it because they're talking about disclosure. You rate the pros and cons. And then when do you get introduced to it again?
Well, it was when Robert Bigelow got the contract that Harry Reid and the other senators asked.
And how much time has passed?
Well, that was in 2008.
So a couple.
And so that went up through 2012. And then ATIP, which you may have heard of, that Lou Elizondo ran, sort of picked up there to keep the ball rolling forward. And now it's been revealed, by the way, only recently, that when the funding dried up, it dried up for the reasons you might think of, and that is it was so highly classified that when congressional statements came down that, okay, we need so much money for this, it didn't actually describe. It would just advance propulsion and all that kind of stuff. So another group picked up the money and said, oh, well, that's what we're working on, propulsion things. So, but it wasn't the real deal. And so, what do you do at that point? Do you go, no, wait a minute, this was really for this? Well, no, then you'd be revealing what this was really for. So anyway, that sort of ended that way. But anyway, so based on that, we then, as a group, went to, turns out, the Department of Homeland Security to set up a whole new program. And it was going to be a special access program. It was under a name, which can now be revealed because AARO, the Advanced Aerospace, Advanced Anomalies Aerospace Resolution Office has revealed it. It was called Kona Blue. And we built up a stack of documents that would go to the ceiling here about what needed to be done, what we were going to do, how it should be done, who should be involved.
So at this point, you're convinced that this is a real phenomenon?
At this point, I'm convinced that there's a real phenomena. I mean, how far can I go? I mean, I can say I interacted with, for example, Dave Grush that you've had on your program before, who is really a high-level intelligence officer. People in the public can hardly have any idea how high a level intelligence officer he was. He prepared briefings for the president. He was top UAP investigator for NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office, and then transferred over to NGA, the National Geospatial Intelligence Office, and so on. And so in that role, he was asked, he was an official, part of the UAP task force, asked by Jay Stratton to find out what's going on behind the scenes at these super classified levels, and he did. And so that's why, he eventually came out in that August 2023 congressional hearing under oath saying, yep, I've talked to more than 40 people who are directly involved in the program. Well, I know Dave. I know many of the people. I know many of the programs that he's involved in. And so there really is something to it. And it's only a matter of time before it comes out. I don't think you can put the toothpaste back into the tube, frankly.
Well, it seems like people don't want to. And I think there's so many more people that are openly discussing the possibility or what this is. Maybe not even the possibility of it, but addressing that there's something going on. So what is it? Is it interdimensional? Is it intergalactic? Like, what is it?
That's just such an excellent question. Because the problem is there's an embarrassment of riches. These craft, which in the old days, farmer in the fields, that someone streaking across the sky and, I don't know what to think, you could sort of blow it off. But because our own detection equipment has really marched up into unbelievable sophistication. And so now we have these really advanced sensor systems, FLIR, forward-looking infrared radar, high-quality radars, satellites. Ratcliffe has admitted that satellites have picked up evidence of these craft. And these craft have interfered with military exercises, as we all know from, say, the Nimitz and the Gimbal and the Go Fast videos that, made it out into the public in 2017. So it's really out there now at this point that there's a reality here. And so that's where we are at this point.
Well, one of the more spectacular ones you talked about, the Nimitz, the Commander David Fravor experience. So they're flying over the water outside of San Diego.
Outside San Diego,
and they
right.
think they see something below the surface, and which is large, and then this 20-foot tic-tac looking thing that's hovering over the water that seems to turn towards them and recognize that they're, it jams their radar. It does something to block their ability to detect it. They have it on screen. They have video of this thing. There's eyewitnesses of this thing. They track it on radar going from above 50,000 feet down to sea level in a second. They don't know what it is. It takes off at an insane rate of speed. It goes to the cat point where they were supposed to meet up. So they have all this data about this thing that behaves in a way that's impossible with our current understanding of propulsion systems.
Right. And, of course, in the program, we interviewed the pilots about their experiences and so on. And so you can't blame a pilot. He says, look, this thing was at 80,000 feet or whatever when he first detected it. Suddenly it's down there right above the water, and then it takes off and does a right-angle turn at Mach 3. This stuff is just way beyond our physics. Of course, to a physics nerd like me, so now wait a minute. If it's real, it's physics. So
right,
it can't be beyond our physics.
It's beyond our understanding.
But it's beyond our engineering. So in fact, in that series of papers I showed you, that of the 38 papers, by the way, there's a little side story there. It's interesting. And those 38 papers were then posted. None of these people who generated those papers had any idea it had to do with ETs or UFOs or whatever. They all went up on what's called the JWIC server. It's a classified server for the Pentagon, and intelligence officers and aerospace contractors, could get access, but nobody in the public could. And usually those things go up, and they're up for a little while, and a month or so, and they take them down. This was such a popular set, this 38 papers, such a popular set, that everybody screamed every time they tried to take it down. And so it was posted there, like forever. But eventually, through Freedom of Information Act and so on, most of those papers have been released. And I was concerned that, oh my God, these guys are all going to call me up and say, what? You didn't tell me this had anything to do with ETs or UFOs? But actually, nobody seemed to not complain about it. So back to the question that you mentioned a little earlier, though, about, what's the source of this? Like I said, it's an embarrassment of riches. There's so much observation. The idea that it may be a scout coming by from some other planet and checking us out and heading off or whatever. I mean, there's much more than that. And, of course, as you know from interviewing Jacques Vallée, he dug into the literature and found out, you can go back millennia and see descriptions of exactly what we're talking about today. So as far as where they come from or what they're doing here, I myself have written a paper called Ultra-Terrestrials, where I try to cover the gamut. And I cover everything. Yeah, they could be spacecraft from some other galaxy whipping through here. Or maybe there's some Atlanteans left over from eons ago, and they're just kind of hiding out in the seabed or on some mountain range someplace. Or maybe some ET group showed up here 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, and they're hiding out with some bases locally and so on. And, of course, we have a fellow by the name of a professor by the name of Masters who thinks that, well, maybe it's time travelers from the future coming back. And then there's the whole idea, since physicists like to talk about additional dimensions, maybe they come from another. So anyway, then in my ultra-terrestrials paper, I list everyone I can think of and say, we should be exploring all of these. So at this point, I would say we know it's NHI, non-human intelligence, but it's not clear what the source is. Maybe at a higher level of classification than I had access to, maybe it's known. But right now, I'd say we don't.
Do you have a
really
suspicion?
I guess my suspicion that it's likely non-human intelligence from some other galaxy or far out in our own galaxy that have come here but some time back and that there are stations here. One of our remote viewers that was really good came up one day and said, I was looking around and I think I found a UFO base on Earth. This is during the remote viewing era, and oh my God, I've got to report this to my CIA contract monitor. And do I want to tell him that? And so I did, and one of the places he came up with some, but one of the places he came up with was Mount Zeal in Australia. And so my CIA contract monitor says, well, I know the station keeper, CIA station keeper out in Australia. I think I'll call him, and I won't tell him why I'm asking, but I'll ask him about Mount Zeal area. So he gave him a call, and he said, I'd like to ask you about that Mount Zeal area. He says, oh, you mean where the UFOs are always flying around?
Whoa.
So I thought, oh, gee,
Aykroyd's crazy into UFOs. He's like one of the main celebrities they pull up when people start talking about like UFO real believers. He's done like little clips where he narrates things, UFO shows and shit. He fucking believes.
Well, didn't they just release that there's even more belief now about UFOs?
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know if it's real, but it's fun. That's how I feel.
Doug, I did a podcast with Jim Florentine, and I explained to Jim Florentine that what people don't know is that Hudson County, New Jersey, northern New Jersey, is the #1 place in the country where they have the most UFO sightings.
Really? Northern New Jersey.
Look it up, Jamie, if you get a minute, please, not to be rude.
But isn't that like near a couple airports?
No, it's closer to like like when you live in New York City and you look at the Hudson River. Mm-hmm. They say that people go on their balcony, they're drinking coffee, they're talking on the phone, and they'll see a little flying saucer go by.
Really?
And I know for a fact that in 1976...
A little one?
Whatever the fuck they are. I know for a fact that in 1975 and 1976, you could check me out on this, a UFO landed in Hudson County Park. I was a kid, and the next day the feds locked off the park. They had yellow tape. They had samples. Go look it up, dog. There's a UFO. You see that's called, North Bergen is where I'm from. That's called, I forget what it's called, but it's a circular building. So they did so much coke in there in the 80s, they called it the grinder. That's what they called it, because it was shaped like the Stonehenge. The Stonehenge. I have a couple friends that lived there. People that lived in that building have seen UFOs for fucking years. And if you go to YouTube, there's an actual North Hudson Park UFO. Wow. They dug up, they came out to there's a liquor store. And the liquor store guy says he's seen the lights. Mm-hmm. You heard like the organ music that they play. Ooh. They landed. A couple Martians got out and took samples and got back in the thing and took off. There's a YouTube thing. There's a History Channel special about it. And I still remember being a young kid.
Did you find anything, Jamie?
That was what's popping up. All that stuff about that building and.
Oh yeah, no.
Is there anything that says a UFO landed?
That's the story I'm reading right now is what he's saying. Yeah.
And witnesses. It's not just one guy that says, "I know UFO." It's people who got knocked on the door and said, "Did you see anything at 11:10 at night?" And they said, "You know what? There were lights flashing outside." They contacted police departments to see if there was any. They went full. Then the FBI came in, circled the park. It was by the Little League field in Hudson County. But it is, like you'd think it was Area 51. You'd think it was close to northern Las Vegas. The #1 place to see UFOs is northern New Jersey. They even made a reference to it in The Sopranos when he said something. He goes, "What are you talking about? Last week you said you seen a UFO in Hackensack." Because that's where they're at. Hackensack, Moonachie.
Right.
All those. You ever go to Moonachie, New Jersey? A lot of ugly people. A lot of people with big heads. The only good thing in Moonachie, New Jersey is fucking Segovia, Spanish restaurant. It's been there since 19 fucking Schlemensky. I don't know. But that's the only good thing about Moonachie. I think those people in Moonachie have been abducted. There you go. And they put them back as big-headed motherfuckers.
I did a gig there a couple times.
Oh, yeah. There used to be like a bar. There's a bar that did something in Moonachie.
Was that a Bob Gonzo gig?
Yes, outside the Sea Caucus.
Was it?
Yeah, it's outside. No. I think Bob is more down the shore and
he
stuff.
He had gigs all over.
He had gigs all over, Bob. How I met Bob was he did a gig in Romano's Italian restaurant in my hometown. And my buddy's like, hey, aren't you a comedian? Let's take you up there. And we went up there, and Bob's like, I don't know him. You know, he's an unknown. And next thing Bob came up to me, he's like, Doug, I got to put you up because my friends threatened me. So Bob put me up, and we've become friends ever since.
That's awesome.
I think I follow him on Facebook. We have a chat from time to time on Facebook. But yeah, for you UFO motherfuckers, look into northern New Jersey. That's the fucking motherload of them.
That's interesting. I had read that before, but I kind of
There you go, 51.
51 UFO sightings in 2018. You get biased because the story is always some person in the woods and they get abducted. They see a UFO in some strange town in the middle of nowhere. The aliens land, abduct people. You always think about it being a rural thing. But if I was an alien, of course I'd go to New York City. Of course I'd go to New Jersey. What the fuck? Why wouldn't you? You want to go see the craziest thing we have? You got like 7 million people stuffed together on a fucking tiny island in comparison to the rest of the planet. Stuff stacked on top of each other. Awesome, amazing buildings. All these lights at Times Square. Look at all these people mulling around, traveling over these bridges to get to this one hub, this one hive of humanity. Of course, if I was an alien, I would check that out.
Well,
why would I look at a barn? You know what I mean?
You used to have a joke that the United States is the Tijuana
of outer space.
Of outer space. Like they're like, what are we doing this weekend? We're going to fucking...
They come down when they're fucked up and they want to see a show.
They want to see a show.
That was the whole bit, is that I think aliens come here when they're high. They just get fucked up. They're like, come on, let's go check out the monkeys. Let's go, dude. Come on, let's abduct a couple of them. Have a good time. Let's go see the monkey people.
I never saw a fucking UFO.
I want to. I never have, though.
I want to see it land, and I want to see one of those green dudes get out. So I
think I thought I saw some shit when I was a kid, but as I got older, I thought that was like a fighter jet or something. That's what that was. Like there was something. God, it's a real sketchy memory. It's one of those memories that's like barely active. But I remember thinking for like a day or two when I was like a little kid, maybe I saw a UFO. But I think I was trying to convince myself of it. You know, I was bored. But I think it was a jet. I think it was something fast and unusual. Have you ever seen one of those stealth bombers? That looks like a fucking UFO. Have you ever seen one of those things in the sky?
No, yes.
It looks like a Star Wars
Like when
movie.
you go to like a Blue Angel fucking thing, those planes.
Yeah, they're probably those are like, I think those are FA-18s. That's what I think it is. I think that's what that is. I flew in one of those. I had a bit about that too. Yeah, you got to do that. You hold on to the hand. You got to do it. You hook. You either hold on to your handle if you're steering the plane, or you hold on to your straps if you're a passenger. I was in the passenger seat, so I grabbed a hold of my straps, and you have to go like this, hoot, 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 and you have to force blood into your brain to stay awake. That's how much G-force you're going through. It's insane.
Force blood into your brain to stay awake.
See, that's one of those stealth bombers. I saw one of those in the air over, I guess it's Edwards Air Force Base. Is that what the one it is? Is Edwards the one that's out near Palmdale? I think that's it.
Yeah.
Because we used to film Fear Factor in Palmdale, and we saw that thing fly overhead like that. Look at that thing. Tell me that doesn't look like it's from another planet. When you're on the ground and you see that fly overhead, you're like, what the fuck is that? So I think that's responsible for a bunch of the things that people saw. I think it's military crafts.
Can I ask you a question on an article you pulled up to 51 sightings? What type of sightings do you
Look
have?
at this fucking thing.
What is considered a sighting?
Well, the thing is, like, you just see shit. But how do you know if... What are you doing, Jim?
These are the sightings.
Okay, but go back to that video. Look at that thing. I mean, come on. If you're just sitting on the ground, you saw that, you're like, they're coming! The aliens are coming! That does not look like it's from this world. That thing is madness.
Especially with those two guys next to him.
God, it's fucking beautiful, though. Like, what an amazing design. That thing flying through, it looks like something on a keyboard. You know, it looks like a symbol on a keyboard. And it's just flying perfectly through the air. That looks like the future. I mean, that really does look like it's from another world. I would imagine, like, little blue dudes with black eyes and blah, 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 talking to each other in that thing. Going through fucking wormholes and shit. I mean, that's what that thing looks like. And what's the thing that they're going to have 100 years from now? Just imagine that.
I just want to know what the logistics is for it to be considered a legitimate sighting?
Legitimate sighting?
Legitimate sighting.
It just means that someone saw it. You know, you don't, like, if you're a lawyer, okay, and you see something, and then you convince yourself that what you saw was something extraordinary, and you have the feeling that you're looking at something from another world. But if it's just some drone or some military vehicle, and then you look at it, and then you convince yourself, then it becomes a bigger and bigger deal in your head. That's a problem with people. It doesn't mean that everybody that sees something is seeing that, but people are kind of full of shit.
Well, let's say there's a 1-800 call Martian. Mm-hmm. All right. I see a fucking thing. I call that thing.
1-800 call Martian.
Yeah, call Martian. Okay, whatever the fuck.
Okay.
1-800 Martian.
Right.
The phone won't stop ringing. Okay, the phone won't stop ringing. It will never stop ringing.
There'll be people talking to Martians.
My concern is, when do they consider it credible? What does it take for it to be credible? For me, for it to be credible, I got to see the motherfucker land and get out.
My take is usually military guys. When you have military fighter pilots, that's an extraordinary human. If you can be one of those guys that flies one of those B-2s, for them to trust you with that $1 billion fucking spaceship, dude, you got to be an exceptional human. There's no room for someone who's full of shit. You're going to be a top flight fighter pilot. You're going to fly around with gunfights in the sky, because that's what they do. They have gunfights in the fucking sky. Those guys are exceptional human beings. So when they see something, that's when I listen, for sure. Everybody else, I'm not that I wouldn't listen, but I don't know. You know, you might be crazy. But you might be crazy even if you're in the military. You might be crazy if you're a fighter pilot. It's 100% possible.
So those fighter pilots and all those Air Force pilots that do test runs or whatever, they say that they see things?
There's a bunch of sightings. Not only a bunch of sightings, there's a bunch of sightings from these really credible guys. What is this? Fleet of UFOs followed U.S. aircraft Navy pilot says.
Yeah,
May
this is
29th.
what I'm talking about.
See, these guys that are talking about these things, these aren't guys with histories of embellishing things. They have this, whatever that is. Is that radar? What are they looking at? Is that infrared? Like, what is that screen that they're looking for? Does it say what kind of image it is? Because it's like a weird look. It's not like a photograph, right? It's like a weird computer image. Because it's detecting it, right, with some piece of equipment, right? Isn't it? Like tracking it on radar or something like that?
I know what you're saying, because I feel like I've heard that description of it too, but this article just says it's video of 2 aerial encounters.
That's tremendous.
But that video doesn't look very clear. Why isn't it clear? My phone does a better job than that shit.
They don't have very good cameras on those.
Cameras,
they have good cameras. I mean, they don't have good ones, but like in order to catch movement at that high speed up there, yada, yada, all that stuff.
Oh, so it would require some exceptional gear.
I think. And it could have also been at night. I don't know what time of day it was.
So convenient. So convenient that they never have a clear picture. That drives me fucking crazy. It drives me fucking crazy, because if it is real, I want it to be real. Honestly. I really do. But when I look at it, I go, God damn, so many people are so crazy and so many people are so full of shit.
You personally believe, and so do I,
dun, dun, dun.
that there's other galaxies out there. There has to be.
Well, there definitely are the galaxies. Other civilizations?
Other civilizations.
Yeah.
Some form, somewhere. Out of the 9 planets, there's got to be
there was
something. I don't know what. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what they're called or whatever, but there has to be something. At this point, you have to believe that.
The universe is too big. It's just too big to discount, to say, nope, I doubt it. Like, that's so crazy to say. Just because we haven't seen it yet, it's so big.
There's the explanation of what he caught and what.
He said that though tracking equipment, radar, and infrared cameras on his aircraft detected UFOs both times, he was unable to capture them on his helmet camera. Okay.
So maybe he couldn't look at it, get it in good vision or whatever. I don't
maybe.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that's a good reason why he.
I would imagine as fast as those goddamn things are going, it must be really hard to get a camera to be able to constantly focus in and out. And
that's interesting. He says that Lieutenant Ryan Grimes, Graves, whatever, a squadron of UFOs followed his Navy strike group up and down the eastern coast of the U.S. for months. I'm telling you, that little fucking. I read something about the Hudson River, that all those people that live across the Hudson River, whether on the Weehawken and Edgewater side or the west side of Manhattan, those are where the people on their balconies see all that shit.
Look at this shit. We did have issues with them when we went to the Middle East, Lieutenant Graves said. Imagine them following the war. Imagine if they were aliens and they came down to follow the war. So they see the war going on in Iraq,
How crazy is
Afghanistan. They come down and they're checking it out.
Just to go on the cynical side of this, they're not necessarily saying they are an alien ship. They're saying it's a UFO, so it's something they're not sure of. What if it's some sort of awesome drone that some Middle Eastern company has and it can just follow shit or move faster or something?
Sure.
I don't know.
That would be the more likely explanation, right? Terrestrial would be more likely that someone has advanced shit. We know they have advanced shit. I mean, we know they have incredible drones. You know, the stuff that they can do.
Dog, I heard they got drones. That Green Berets or SEALs, you put razor blades on them, and they slit your fucking throat when you're driving.
Whoa.
That's how good the technology is on those drones.
Jesus Christ. I wouldn't be shocked if they could do all kinds of things that
you
we
could
can't
be
expect.
standing there, and they could take the drone to just come down, and fucking they put razor blades on them or some shit.
Well, you could totally see someone having a small drone, like a small thing, like the size of a cheeseburger, that has poison in it, and you just slam it into somebody. I could see that. But you're seeing, when you're seeing stuff that's flying around the sky, most likely is made by a person, because people make stuff, and people know how to make stuff that flies around the sky. But then when you get to shit that like defies physics, like some of the things these fighter pilots see, that's when you got to go, wait a minute. You see these extraordinary feats of traversing distances, like they can get from one place to another place so fast it looks like they disappear. This is something they all talk about. They all talk about the insane speed at which these things can go. They can just change angles. They can just go and then take a hard right angle turn. They can do stuff that nothing that we know how to make can do. That's where it gets to be like, whoa. Like nothing. It's not like it's like, oh, that's like a fighter jet, but like really fast. You know what I'm saying? It's like an alien car. Oh, it's like a car, but it's way faster. Like it's an alien car. But this is not like anything that we make. These fucking things, they fly this way, they say, flat, like a plate hovering over the ground. But when they go to fly, when they go to take off, they flip up sideways. And they have like the bottom of the spaceship is pointing towards where it wants to go. And it does something to space and time, make some sort of fucking magnetic gravity connection, insert big spooky words, whatever. They don't know how the fuck it does it, right? This thing can go like insane distances in insanely small amounts of time. Then when they all report the same kind of behavior of these, I mean, so many of these reports are like that. They're talking about this thing that goes insanely fast, turns on its side. It looks like a Tic Tac. It looks like a saucer. It looks like they're trying to figure out what the fuck the shape is because it's moving so goddamn fast. But it's doing stuff that nothing we know how to make can do. I don't know if it's from another planet. It might be from here, but it's exciting. It's exciting shit. I want it to be from another planet. That's what I want, like unbiased, like what I would love it. Just be completely honest. I would love it if it was aliens. But if it was people, I'd be even more scared because like, goddamn, people can do that. People can do that, and no one knew. Like if you can imagine a person who can make a spaceship that defies all of the rules that we know about travel, about air travel. If they can make something that defies all that shit and somehow or another keep the whole development and production of it a secret and then have this thing and take it off and no one knows how the fuck they did it, that's almost more impressive than aliens. Because that's what these things are doing is so if these pilots are accurately reading what's happening and they're telling the truth, the thing that's remarkable is their stories are very consistent. There's a lot of very similar stories from different people that they make a living flying super fast warships. They see things. They know what the fuck they're looking at. They see something they don't know. They're like, what in the fuck is that? When they see something like that, that freaks me out. That's when it gets me. Because when some fucking kid's riding his bike to school and he looks up and he sees a UFO, okay, maybe it did happen. Maybe it did happen. Maybe the kid's being 100% honest. Or maybe he was bored. Maybe he was bored and decided to make up a crazy story and stuck with it. And then after a while telling it, maybe he believed it himself. That happens too. People see things. They don't know what they're seeing, and they decide that it's a different thing. I've said this before, but it's a true story. When I was in Alberta, there's wolves there, and I thought I saw a wolf for like a whole second. It was a squirrel. It was a fucking squirrel. But I saw gray fur movement wolf squirrel. Like, if you're dumb or if you're compromised or if maybe you're a little drunk, maybe you're a little tired, maybe you just saw something that looked really weird because of, whatever weather conditions that are affecting some part of the world you live in. There's things called ball lightning, flies through the air. It looks like a UFO. You ever see that shit? It's like a real natural phenomenon. Somebody might see something like that and then add a bunch of other shit to it. And that's where you get a lot of these stories. You get like natural phenomenon and then people adding a bunch of shit to things. But then on top of that, you have credible stories. And you can't throw out any of them. Like it's when you look at all these things, you can't decide just because there's a bunch of crackpot stories about UFOs that the ones by legitimate fighter pilots, that those aren't real. You can't look at it that way. It's crazy to look at it that way. Because it's more likely there's something out there than there isn't something out there. It's way more likely.
When I was a kid and that happened in Hudson County Park, I wrote it off. I didn't even pay attention. I remember riding my bike up there, seeing the Fed tape and seeing people with those orange protective suits on.
Yeah.
And I was like, these people are fucking out of my mind. Then one night I got high, 5 or 6 years ago, and I saw it. Somebody had posted on Facebook or YouTube, and I read more and more into it, and I discounted it until I read the accounts of the 28 people.
Yeah.
In that building, the liquor store, there was a guy who had just got dropped off a bus from New York. There's buses drop you off there from New York. Mm-hmm. The bus driver said there was a flash. He couldn't, there were just so many people with stories that, they didn't see a fucking guy get out. Only 3 people saw people get out. Mm. Everybody else discounted the lights and the noise and the other bullshit that went with it. I would have shit my fucking pants if I lived in that building and saw 3 little Martians get out. Or it could just be fucking, who knows? Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, man.
I just wanted to tell you that's where
people can get freaked out, and they can, they can think all kinds of things that didn't really happen.
Hey, one night I was on acid. I thought it was I thought the FBI was out there with dogs. When I went out the next day, it was fucking a fire hydrant, all right? I dumped an ounce of Coke down the toilet.
Oh, my God.
Because I hallucinated. Because when you're doing Coke for more than fucking 10 hours, you start hallucinating. I started hallucinating. I thought it was fucking dogs and it was a fire hydrant. You know how stupid I felt the next day? Pretty fucking stupid. Pretty fucking stupid. I sat there and I went over and petted the hydrant. You fuck. You fuck.
This is a problem with any story, like all these fucking UFO stories. It's people's memory. Memory's not that good. It's just not that good. It's too hard to figure out what it actually looked like after you saw it. Like you see something crazy like a year ago, and then you try to describe it. It's too hard to describe. Like you barely remember it. Your version of it is a rehashed version that you keep repeating to yourself. If you saw something, like say if you were hiking and you saw a wolf, right? If you saw that wolf, when you try to describe that moment you saw that wolf years later, like what are you actually seeing when you're going into your memory? How accurate is it? We're always lying about how accurate our memory is. It's not that good. Like if you did see a wolf, which is an extraordinary moment, right? You're in the fucking forest. You're like, it's a fucking wolf. That's a wolf. And you see a real wolf looking down on you, a wild motherfucker in the woods of Canada, just looking at you, staring at you on a trail. Like that's an extraordinary moment. But if you try to recount that in your mind 10 years later, what do you actually see? How much do you actually see? You see this blurry, weird, fucking misty version, and you got some words that fall into place that can describe it. But how accurate is your fucking memory? It's terrible.
How accurate is your memory?
It's good with statistics.
Okay.
Like, I can tell you about fights. I can tell you what year someone fought. I can tell you how this guy won and how he beat, this many guys with a triangle, and I remember things. But if I actually have to remember what it actually looked like in my head, I can't really pull that up. I barely can pull it up. I see it, I'll recognize it again. Like, you show me Joe Schilling knocking out Melvin Manhoef in Bellator. I watched that KO so many times. A wild, crazy slugfest. And if I see it, I'm watching it happen in a video. I remember it. Yep, this is how it goes. Here it goes. Boom! He KOs him. But if I had to just pull that out of my brain right now, it's not good. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if I have to close my eyes and pretend I saw Mike Tyson knock out Michael Spinks, I kind of can see little flashes. I can kind of remember weird little parts of it. I remember the final right hand. Boom! He just sends him flying through the ropes. It was chaos. It was just like, he's the best ever. But if I had to play it back in my head, it wouldn't be nearly as good as a video of it.
When I was stationed at Portland Air National Guard, my job there was an airfield manager. So I would interface and work a lot with the F-15 pilots at the unit. And so there had been an airspace incursion that had taken place when I was still at the time at the Guard. And I remember kind of talking to some of the pilots about it, and I was like, what was that? And they're like, we can't really talk about it. No one really wanted to address it. And so from what I had gathered, that had been likely a UAP. And so that kind of was my perspective. Granted, I also grew up in the generation of the X-Files and, I don't know if you remember 94 Independence Day. So for me specifically, I didn't look at it with a crazy lens and perspective. I'm like, you never know if we're the only ones out there, essentially.
But why did you assume that if it's a top secret incursion that he couldn't talk about, that it wasn't just a military craft from another country?
Because of the way that he was discussing it.
What did he say?
So he had been, he didn't want to, from what I gather, get taken off flight status. And he's like, I really can't discuss it. We couldn't really identify it, essentially, and it had outperformed them.
So when you say that it operates outside our understanding of physics, what specifically are you saying? What happened?
To I guess break it down in simple terms is that I think that some of the tech that exists, that whatever these things have, these energy things have.
Energy things? What do you mean?
Well, they call them interdimensional beings. I think that they can actually operate through the time spaces that we currently have. And that's not something that I came up with on my own. That's based on stuff that we've seen. That's based on information that we've been told. And then also, too, I think that there's this historical aspect of, this gets into the deeper theories and concepts of religion and I think the history that we currently know and that kind of spins off into another topic of, you have the modern day Bible, you have this aspect of Bibles or books of the Bible that have been removed that explain and kind of touch on these topics. And I think that we're in a time and age where you have such a vast amount of information that we have access to via social media, via your cell phone, via the internet. And so it's really changing the way that we understand, the origins of life and the spiritual reality that we know.
When you
currently
say interdimensional beings, that they know that these are interdimensional beings, how do they know that?
Based on testimony would be based on witnesses that have come forward. But what I can tell you is
So the witnesses just were told that they were interdimensional?
that they've seen things. And what I can tell you without getting into classified conversations is that there have been incidences that I believe where very credible people have reported that there have been movement outside of time and space.
That's very vague.
Yeah. So, look.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Look. Have I seen a portal open? No. Have I seen a spaceship? Personally, no. Have I seen evidence of this? Yes. Have I seen photo documentation of aircraft that I believe were not made by mankind? Yes. Is there historical significance to this? Yes. Is there multiple events that go back to, I would argue, maybe even before the time of Christ that have documented this in text? Yes. So do I believe that the government has access to certain technology? Yes, to an extent. And I believe that certain contractors potentially have back engineered this tech. I think that that's what can explain the advancements that we're seeing. But I also believe that this is a dangerous level of hidden information from the American people, because if you have an aspect of the federal government, which I can tell you, I, with 2 other members of Congress, were denied access to information at Eglin Air Force Base pertaining to whistleblowers because of the fact, and we can get into that story and what happened at Eglin in a second, but we were denied access and told that we don't have security clearance or the read-in authority on a special access program. That's a problem, because I'm supposed to represent and be an investigative body, and you have then people who are unelected that are operating basically in secrecy, and that's a problem. That's a big problem.
And so how do these people have the authority to do that?
I think it's been decades of classified secret information, then also this aspect of the intelligence community that's been empowered. And it's kind of serendipitous with timing, because when you talk about the intelligence communities and what they've done essentially to the trust in this country with the American people, I think this goes all the way back even into JFK, with how they basically have operated outside of the purview of Congress and basically, to an extent, have gone rogue up until recently. You're seeing a big push and pull to try to rein in these intelligence agencies currently.
Yeah. So what I want to bring it back to evidence. You said that you've seen evidence. Like, what kind of evidence have you seen?
I have seen photos. I have seen...
what have you seen photos of?
So I was in a skiff, and I can't discuss all that was in a skiff, but what I can tell you is based on the photos that I've seen, I'm very confident that there's things out there that have not been created by mankind.
It seems crazy that people have access to information that shows that there's something outside of us that is more intelligent, at least more capable than we are, and they hide it from everybody else.
What I can tell you is that when you have thousands upon thousands of people around the planet throughout time that have reported something.
Right.
To say that those people are crazy, to say that, you know, the whole concept of even just asking the question that you might not necessarily be psychologically sound, that in itself, you know, that's a disinformation campaign to get people to shut up about it. And that's a problem. We know that the U.S. government has not exactly been clean, and a lot of what they've done with the American people, specifically to the topic of UFOs.
Which makes you think that it's probably because there's something there. If you think about the motivation they had with Project Blue Book, when J. Allen Hynek was running Project Blue Book, this specific intention was to discredit all stories.
And he ended up ultimately, though, after all of his investigations, becoming someone that was like, I think there's something here. But that's true. By the way, a lot of people might not necessarily go onto Google and look up that information, but you can actually look up the declassified reports from Project Blue Book. What's also interesting, though, is when we're talking about tech, right? The ability for this tech, being that it exists, to change dependence for entire governments on things like fossil fuel, et cetera. You know, it's look, I think everyone has a moral obligation to do what they think is right, okay? And so if you're in a position of power and you see something wrong and you're not addressing it, I think, you know, this in itself, getting the truth out there for people to decide for themselves. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm just telling you in our investigations and what we are pushing for in regards to transparency. I would like to see the federal government roll out some of the stuff that we've been given access to, because I think that that information belongs in the hands of the American people.